Have you ever felt your heart start to race just moments before you need to speak English? You pause. You hesitate. You frantically search your mind for a complicated word because you believe that complex words make you sound intelligent. You worry that if you use simple words, you will sound like a child. But what happens next is often frustrating. You stumble. You get stuck. The person listening to you looks confused. The connection is broken. This is a painful moment that almost every language learner has experienced. But I have a secret to share with you today that might change everything. The secret is that clear English does not come from big words or long, twisting sentences. Clear English comes from simplicity. Simplicity is not a weakness. It is your greatest strength. It is the key to unlocking true fluency and building a bridge between you and the listener. Welcome to English in Fluency. I am your host, Alex, and today we are going to go on a deep journey into the art of simple communication. We are going to deconstruct the myth that you need to be a poet to be understood. By the end of this session, you will understand why short, direct sentences are the most powerful tool in your toolbox, and we will practice exactly how to build them. If you want to finally feel relaxed when you speak, make sure to listen closely. Let us begin this journey together. Let's imagine a scenario that happens in offices all around the world every single day. Meet a man named Julian. Julian is a talented graphic designer. He knows his job perfectly. He creates beautiful images and understands marketing better than anyone else in his team. However, Julian has a problem. He believes that professional English must be complicated. He thinks that to be respected, he must use passive voice and academic vocabulary. One morning, Julian is in a meeting with his international colleagues. He wants to explain that the project is delayed because the client changed the colors. This is a simple fact. But Julian does not say it simply. He takes a deep breath and says, "Due to the unforeseen circumstances regarding the alterations of the visual spectrum requested by the external entity, the projected timeline has been compromised." The room goes silent. His boss frowns and tilts his head. A colleague from France whispers to a colleague from Japan, asking what Julian meant. Julian starts to sweat. He thinks his English is bad, but his English grammar was technically correct. The problem was not his grammar. The problem was that he built a wall of words instead of a bridge of meaning. Now, imagine a different version of Julian. Let's call him Marcus. Marcus has the same level of English as Julian, perhaps even lower. Marcus is in the same meeting. He wants to say the same thing. Marcus looks at the team and says, "The client changed the colors. The project will be late. We need 2 more days." Everyone nods. The boss says, "Okay, thanks for the update." The meeting moves forward. Marcus communicated effectively. Julian communicated confusion. This story illustrates the core philosophy of our lesson. Communication is not about showing off your vocabulary. Communication is about transferring an idea from your brain to another person's brain with as little friction as possible. We often confuse fluency with complexity. We look at native speakers in movies or read classic literature and think that is the standard for daily conversation. It is not. In reality, spoken English is remarkably simple. Studies show that the most common words in English are short, 1- or 2-syllable words. When native speakers talk to each other at a coffee shop, or at the bank, or even in business meetings, they prioritize speed and clarity. They use short sentences. They use active verbs. They avoid the passive voice unless it is absolutely necessary. When you try to construct a long sentence with 3 different clauses and a complex conjunction, you are giving your brain a very difficult task. You have to remember the beginning of the sentence while you are planning the end of the sentence. This cognitive load slows you down. It makes you pause and say and frequently. It increases your anxiety because the risk of making a mistake is much higher. When you use simple sentences, you liberate your mind. You can speak in a rhythm. You can focus on your pronunciation and your intonation because you are not struggling with the grammar. Let's break down exactly what makes a sentence simple and powerful. The most basic structure in English is subject, verb, and object. This is the golden rule. Someone does something. Julian ate an apple. The team finished the report. The sun warms the earth. This structure is strong. It is direct. It is easy for the listener to process. When you stray too far from this structure, you enter the danger zone. Let's look at another character, a woman named Elena. Elena is preparing for a job interview. She has prepared a script for the question, "Tell me about yourself." She wants to impress the interviewer. She writes, "Having graduated from university with a degree in economics, and subsequently working for 3 years in a financial firm where I was responsible for data analysis, I am now seeking a position that offers more creative challenges." This sentence is grammatically correct, but it is heavy. It forces the listener to wait a long time to find out the main point. If Elena is nervous during the interview, she might forget the second half of the sentence. She might stumble on the word subsequently. Now, let's rewrite Elena's introduction using the power of simplicity. She could say, "I have a degree in economics. I worked in finance for 3 years. I managed data analysis there. Now, I want a creative challenge." Notice the difference. The information is exactly the same, but the delivery is punchy. It has a rhythm. Bang, bang, bang. It sounds confident. Confidence comes from control, and it is much easier to control short sentences than long ones. This concept applies to every aspect of daily life, not just business. Think about ordering food in a restaurant. You might hear a student say, "I was wondering if it would be possible for me to perhaps have the chicken sandwich, but without the onions if that is not too much trouble." This is very polite, but it is exhausting. The waiter is busy. The noise in the restaurant is loud. The waiter might miss the part about the onions because it was buried in a mountain of polite words. A confident speaker who values simplicity would say, "I would like the chicken sandwich, please. No onions." It is polite. It is clear. The waiter smiles and writes it down. There is zero chance of a misunderstanding. This is the goal. We want to eliminate misunderstandings. We want to reduce the mental energy required for both the speaker and the listener. Now I want to practice this with you. I am going to describe a situation using complex, foggy language. I want you to listen carefully and try to think of a simpler way to say it. Imagine you are talking to a friend about your weekend. Here is the complex version. Despite the fact that the weather was predicting rain, which caused me some hesitation, I eventually decided to proceed with my plans to visit the park, although I did bring an umbrella just in case. That was a mouthful. It feels heavy, doesn't it? Now, how can we chop this up? How can we use the subject-verb-object tool? We can break it into 3 small steps. Step 1, the weather was bad. Step 2, I hesitated. Step 3, I went to the park anyway. Let's try to smooth that into natural speech. The forecast predicted rain. I was worried, but I went to the park anyway. This version tells a story. It has movement. The complex version feels static and stuck. Let's try another one. Imagine you are explaining why you are late. The traffic situation on the highway, which is usually quite manageable at this time of day, was unexpectedly severe due to a construction project that I was not aware of. This sounds like a government report. Let's simplify it. What is the subject? The traffic. What is the verb? Was. What is the object or description? Bad. The traffic was terrible. There was construction. I didn't know about it. Or even simpler. Construction caused a lot of traffic. I'm sorry, I'm late. Let's go deeper into why our brains prefer this simplicity. When we listen to a second language, our brains are working overtime. We are decoding sounds, translating vocabulary, and interpreting grammar rules all at once. If the sentences are long and complex, our working memory gets full. If the speaker adds too many clauses, the listener might forget the beginning of the sentence by the time the speaker reaches the end. When you speak simply, you are being kind to your listener. You are making it easy for them to understand you. You are doing the hard work of simplifying so that they don't have to do the hard work of decoding. This builds trust. When people understand you easily, they trust you more. They feel comfortable around you. They don't feel stupid. If you speak in riddles, people might nod politely, but they will mentally check out. They will stop listening. There is a famous writer named Ernest Hemingway. He is considered one of the greatest writers in the English language. He did not use big words. He did not write sentences that went on for a whole page. He wrote short, true sentences. He wrote about the sea, and the war, and love, using language that a child could read, but only an adult could fully understand. He proved that you do not need flowery language to express deep emotions. You can say, "He was sad." This is powerful. You don't need to say, "He was overcome by a wave of melancholy that consumed his spirit." Sometimes, "He was sad" hits the heart harder because it is direct. As a B1 learner, you should look to Hemingway as a guide. Your goal is not to sound like a professor from the 19th century. Your goal is to be a clear, modern communicator. Let's address the fear that holds you back. Many of you are afraid that simple English sounds low-level. You think that if you say, "I want a job," instead of, "I am desirous of employment," people will think you are uneducated. This is the opposite of the truth. In the modern world, especially in international business and travel, time is money. Clarity is king. People who use excessive words are often seen as insecure. They are seen as people who are trying too hard to prove themselves. People who speak directly are seen as leaders. They value their time, and they value your time. Think about the most effective leaders or public speakers you know. They speak in sound bites. They speak in memorable phrases. "I have a dream." This is a very simple sentence. Subject, I. Verb, have. Object, a dream. It is not, "I currently possess a vision for the future." No, simplicity resonates. It sticks in the memory. I want to give you a specific technique to practice this week. It is called the period power technique. When you are speaking, I want you to imagine a physical period, a full stop, at the end of every thought. Do not use the word "and" to connect 5 different thoughts. Do not use "because" more than once in a sentence. Speak a thought. Stop. Breathe. Speak the next thought. Stop. Breathe. Let's practice this with a story about a woman named Sophia who lost her keys. A nervous speaker might say, "I was walking home, and I realized I didn't have my keys, and I looked in my bag, but they weren't there, so I got really scared because no one was home." This is a run-on sentence. It sounds breathless and frantic. Now, apply the period power technique. I was walking home. I realized I didn't have my keys. I looked in my bag. They were not there. I got scared. No one was home. Can you hear the difference? The second version is dramatic. It creates tension. It sounds like a story being told by a confident narrator. The silence between the sentences is just as important as the words themselves. That silence gives the listener time to process the information. It gives you, the speaker, time to plan your next sentence perfectly. Now that we have established the foundation of simplicity, I want to take you deeper into the psychology of why we complicate things and how this directly affects your to listen and understand others. We often think of speaking and listening as two separate skills, like walking and swimming, but they are actually two sides of the same coin. When you embrace simplicity in your speaking, something magical happens to your listening skills. You stop panicking. You stop trying to translate every single word in your head because you realize that the core message is usually simple. Let's explore this connection between your output and your input, and how simplifying one dramatically improves the other. Consider for a moment the mental energy you spend when you are about to speak. You are nervous. Your heart rate is up. You are focused entirely on yourself. You are thinking about your grammar, your vocabulary, and your accent. Because your brain is so focused on your performance, you have zero mental energy left to actually listen to the person standing in front of you. You are looking at them, but you are not hearing them. You are just waiting for your turn to speak. This is the biggest barrier to fluency. It is not a lack of words, it is a lack of presence. When you decide to speak simply, using the subject-verb-object structure we discussed, you lower the pressure on yourself. You know you can say, "I agree," or "That is interesting." Because you are not worried about constructing a complex sentence, your brain is free to focus outward. You can actually hear the words the other person is using. You can see their body language. You can connect. Simplicity liberates your ears. To illustrate this, let's look at a story about a student named Kenji. Kenji was an intermediate learner who loved to debate. He went to an English meetup in London. He was talking to a native speaker about climate change. This is a complex topic. Kenji wanted to express a very nuanced opinion about carbon taxes and international trade. While the native speaker was talking, Kenji was not listening. Kenji was mentally translating a complex sentence from Japanese to English, involving subsidies and geopolitical ramifications. When the native speaker stopped talking and asked, "What do you think?" Kenji froze. He hadn't heard the question. He hadn't heard the native speaker's point. He just blurted out his pre-memorized complex sentence. The native speaker looked confused because Kenji's answer had nothing to do with what was just said. The conversation died. Now, imagine if Kenji had decided to keep it simple. If Kenji had just listened, he might have heard the native speaker say, "I think we need to plant more trees." Kenji could have simply said, "Yes, trees are important. But we also need less cars." This is simple. It is direct. And most importantly, It is a real response to a real statement. This is what we call active communication. It is better to give a simple, relevant answer than a complex, irrelevant one. Let's talk about the specific vocabulary of simplicity. Many students believe that to go from B1 to C1, they must learn academic words. They swap buy for purchase. They swap use for utilize. They swap help for facilitate. While these words have their place in formal writing, using them in speech often creates a barrier. There is a concept in English called Latinate words versus Germanic words. Latinate words are longer, more formal, and often come from French or Latin. Germanic words are shorter, punchier, and come from the Old English roots. For example, commence is Latinate. Start is Germanic. Ascend is Latinate. Go up is Germanic. In spoken English, even in business, the Germanic words are often more powerful. They hit the ear faster. Let's start the meeting sounds more energetic than let us commence the proceedings. Sales went up is clearer than sales ascended. As a learner, you should fall in love with these short, strong verbs. They are the engine of the English language. Do not be afraid of phrasal verbs like give up, turn on, or find out. Sometimes students avoid them because they seem informal, but they are actually the most natural way to speak. I discovered the truth is fine. I found out the truth is better. It flows. I want to introduce you to a technique called the echo method to help you practice this simplicity and improve your listening at the same time. The echo method is very simple. When someone speaks to you, instead of rushing to give a new opinion, simply repeat the key idea they just gave you, but in your own simple words. This does two things. First, it confirms you understood. Second, it buys you time to think. Let's see how this works. Imagine a colleague says to you, "We are really struggling with the new software update because the interface is not intuitive, and the team is losing a lot of time trying to figure out where the buttons are." That is a long sentence. You might feel overwhelmed. Use the echo method. You focus on the core problem. You say, "So, the software is too hard to use?" The colleague will say, "Exactly." You have connected. You stripped away the noise and found the signal. You didn't need to use big words. You just needed to summarize. This makes you a brilliant conversationalist. People love feeling understood. If you can simplify their complex complaints into one clear sentence, they will think you are a genius. Let's practice this echo method with a few more examples. I will act as a confused tourist, and I want you to imagine summarizing my problem in 3 or 4 words. Here is the tourist. I have been walking around for an hour looking for the museum, and my map is old, and my phone battery is dead, and I am just so tired of walking. How do you echo that? You could say, you are lost and tired. Or, you need the museum. Simple, direct, helpful. Here is another one. A boss says, I need this report on my desk by Friday, but I know you are busy, so if you can't do it, let me know. But it is really important for the client meeting next week. How do you echo that? You need the report by Friday. By stripping away the excuses and the padding, you get to the truth. This is a superpower. It stops misunderstandings before they start. Now, let's address the fear of silence. Simplicity requires pauses. Complex speech often fills every second with sound because the speaker is afraid that if they stop, they will lose the listener's attention. But silence is a tool. When you speak in short sentences, subject, verb, object, there is a natural gap between them. I went to the store. It was closed. I came home. Between those sentences, there is a tiny silence. Do not fear this silence. Own it. That silence is where the listener digests your words. It is where the meaning sinks in. If you rush, if you say, I went to the store and it was closed, so I came home, it becomes a blur. The pause shows confidence. It shows that you are not in a hurry. You are in control. Practice speaking slower. Practice leaving a beat of silence after every period. It will feel strange at first. It will feel like you are speaking too slowly. But to the listener, you will sound thoughtful and articulate. There is a global movement called plain English. Governments and corporations are starting to realize that complex legal language is bad for business. If a customer cannot understand the contract, they won't sign it. If a citizen cannot understand the law, they can't follow it. So, even the highest levels of society are moving towards simplicity. You are on the right path. You are not dumbing down your English. You are modernizing it. You are joining a global standard of clear communication. This is especially true if you speak to other non-native speakers. If a Brazilian is talking to a Korean in English, and they both use complex idioms and obscure vocabulary, they will not understand each other. But if they both use clear, simple, standard English, they will communicate perfectly. This is often called Globish, Global English. It is a simplified version of English that is the true language of the world. It uses a vocabulary of about 1,500 words. It avoids difficult grammar. And it works. As a B1 learner, you are already a master of Globish. You don't need to be Shakespeare. You need to be a global communicator. Let's go back to our friend from the first section, Marcus. Marcus, who speaks simply, has a presentation to give. He has to explain a graph showing sales numbers. A nervous speaker would say, as you can see from the visual representation on the screen, there has been a significant fluctuation in the upward trajectory of our revenue stream during the third quarter. This is boring. It is hard to follow. Marcus looks at the screen. He looks at the audience. He says, look at this line. In July, sales went up. In August, they went down. We need to fix this. Everyone understands. The impact is immediate. The emotion is clear. We need to fix this is a call to action. We must endeavor to rectify the situation is a sleeping pill. When you are presenting or speaking to a group, your goal is to keep them awake. Short sentences are like drum beats. They have energy. Long sentences are like a lullaby. They put people to sleep. I want to give you a specific daily practice to help you internalize this. It is called the one-breath rule. The rule is simple. You should be able to say your entire sentence in one comfortable breath. If you have to gasp for air in the middle of your sentence, it is too long. Try it now. Take a breath. Say, I am studying English to improve my life. That was easy. One breath. Now try this. I am studying English because I believe that in the future it will be very important for my career, and I also want to travel to different countries and meet new people, so I need to be fluent. That is hard. You probably ran out of air. Your voice probably got weak at the end. When your voice gets weak, you sound unsure. When you use the one-breath rule, your voice stays strong until the very last word. You sound powerful. If you have a long thought, break it into 2 breaths. I am studying English for my career. I also want to travel. 2 breaths. 2 strong sentences. No gasping. Let's discuss the role of connectors. Connectors are words like however, furthermore, nevertheless, on the other hand. Students love these words. They feel like magic keys to fluency. But be careful. If you use too many, you sound like a textbook. In spoken English, simple connectors are better. Instead of nevertheless, use but. Instead of furthermore, use also. Instead of consequently, use so. These small words, but also so, are the glue of conversation. They are invisible. They hold the sentences together without drawing attention to themselves. I wanted to go, but I was tired. This is perfect. I wanted to go. Nevertheless, I was lacking in energy. This is unnatural. Unless you are writing a formal essay, stick to the invisible glue. Now, I want to talk about how simplicity helps with your internal translation. Many of you still translate from your native language to English in your head. This is normal at the B1 level, but complex sentences are harder to translate. If your native language has a very different grammar structure than English, trying to translate a long, twisting sentence is a nightmare. You will get the word order wrong. You will put the verb in the wrong place. But if you strip the idea down to subject-verb-object, the translation becomes easy. Most languages in the world can easily express, "He eats an apple." Not all languages can easily express, "Having eaten the apple, he felt satisfied." By simplifying the thought before you translate it, you reduce the chance of grammar errors. You make the translation process faster. Eventually, you want to stop translating altogether, but while you are still doing it, simplicity is your safety net. Let's look at a scenario involving feelings. Feelings are complicated. We often want to explain exactly how we feel. I felt a sense of frustration mixed with a little bit of anger because he didn't call me back. That is a valid feeling, but to express it, you can just say, "He didn't call. I was angry." It is raw. It is real. Sometimes we use complex words to hide our true feelings. We say, "I am a bit disappointed," when we mean, "I am sad." We say, "It is inconvenient," when we mean, "I hate it." Simple English forces you to be honest. I don't like this. I am happy. I love this. There is power in this honesty. It connects you to other human beings. Don't be afraid to be direct with your emotions. We are building a new habit here. Old habits are hard to break. You have spent years learning grammar rules and vocabulary lists. You have been trained to think that more is better. Undoing this training takes conscious effort. You have to catch yourself. When you are writing an email, look at it before you send it. Can you cut a sentence? Can you split one long sentence into two? When you are chatting on WhatsApp, look at your message. Is it a wall of text, or is it clear? Start with writing, because writing gives you time to edit. Once you get used to simplifying your writing, it will start to bleed into your speaking. You will start to notice when other people are rambling. You will start to value the people who get to the point. Let's think about the elevator pitch. Imagine you are in an elevator with the CEO of a company you want to work for. You have 30 seconds to tell him who you are. You cannot waste a second. You cannot say, "Well, essentially, basically, I have been thinking about perhaps applying." The doors will open and he will be gone. You need to say, "Hi, I'm Alex. I'm a designer. I love your company's work. I want to help you grow." Bam! You made an impression. Life is full of elevator pitches. Every time you meet someone new, you are pitching yourself. Keep it clean. Keep it memorable. Here is a fun exercise for you to try with a study partner or even by yourself. It is called the Forbidden Words game. Try to have a conversation where you are not allowed to use the words and, but, or so. This sounds impossible, right? It forces you to speak in extremely short sentences. I woke up. It was sunny. I felt good. I went for a run. It will sound robotic at first. That is okay. It is an extreme exercise to break your dependency on long sentences. Once you get comfortable with the short, choppy rhythm, you can slowly add the connectors back in, but only when you really need them. This resets your brain's rhythm. It teaches you that a sentence can exist alone. It doesn't need to be attached to 10 other sentences. As we continue this journey towards fluency, remember that your goal is connection, not perfection. A perfect sentence that is too complex to be understood is a failed sentence. An imperfect sentence that is simple and clear is a successful sentence. If you say, "I go store yesterday," it is grammatically wrong. But I understand you perfectly. If you say, "It was to the commercial establishment that I proceeded on the previous day," I might be confused. I prefer the first one. Of course, we want to fix the grammar to "I went to the store," but the simplicity of the first error is better than the complexity of the second. Don't let the fear of grammar stop you from being simple. Now, we are going to enter the most difficult territory of all: high-pressure situations. We are going to talk about arguments, negotiations, and moments where emotions run high. It is easy to speak simply when you are ordering coffee. It is much harder to speak simply when you are angry, or nervous, or in love. When our emotions rise, our logic often falls. We try to hide our feelings behind complex walls of words. We think that if we use intellectual language, we will be protected from the pain of the situation. But today, I will show you that even in the heat of battle, simplicity is your sharpest sword and your strongest shield. Let's look at a relationship dynamic that is very common. Meet a couple, Leo and Maya. They have been married for 5 years. One evening, Leo forgets to buy milk on his way home. It is a small mistake, but Maya has had a very long, stressful day. She sees the empty fridge and she snaps. She doesn't say, "I am frustrated." Instead, she launches into a complex lecture. She says, "It is incredibly disappointing that despite my numerous reminders, there seems to be a recurring pattern of negligence regarding basic household responsibilities, which makes me feel as though my time is not valued." Leo stands there. He hears negligence. He hears recurring pattern. He feels like he is on trial in a courtroom. He gets defensive. He stops listening to her feelings and starts arguing about the definition of negligence. The connection is broken. They argue for an hour about words, not about milk. Now, let's rewind the tape. Let's see what happens if Maya uses the power of simplicity. She sees the empty fridge. She takes a breath. She looks at Leo. She says, "There is no milk. I am tired. I wanted tea. I feel forgotten." This is vulnerable. It is short. It cuts right to the heart. Leo cannot argue with, "I feel forgotten." It is a simple statement of truth. He doesn't feel attacked. He feels empathy. He says, "I am sorry. I will go buy milk now." The argument is over in 2 minutes. The complex version hid the pain. The simple version revealed the pain. When you are arguing with a friend or a partner in English, resist the urge to be a lawyer. Do not build a case. Just state your feeling. "I am angry. I am hurt. I don't understand." These simple sentences are disarming. They force the other person to deal with the reality of your emotion, not the complexity of your vocabulary. This principle applies just as powerfully in the business world, specifically in negotiations. Many people think negotiation requires tricky language and manipulative sentences. But the best negotiators in the world are often the simplest. Let's meet Sarah. Sarah is a software developer who wants a raise. She books a meeting with her boss, Mr. Chen. In the first version of reality, Sarah is nervous. She prepares a long speech. She says, "Considering the current economic inflation rates and the comparative market analysis of my position in other sectors, combined with my tenure here, it would be appropriate to discuss an adjustment to my compensation package." Mr. Chen is a busy man. He hears adjustment to compensation package, and he thinks, this is going to be a long, difficult conversation. He puts up his guard. He starts thinking of complex reasons to say no. Now, look at Sarah in the second version. She walks in, she sits down, she smiles, she says, "I love working here. Last year, I saved the company $50,000. I would like a 10% raise." Boom! Subject, verb, object. Facts, no fluff. She connects her value, saving money, directly to her request, the raise. Mr. Chen respects this. It is clear math. He can say yes or no, but he cannot pretend he didn't understand. Directness shows confidence. If you hide your request in a long paragraph, you look unsure. If you put your request on the table in a short sentence, you look like you deserve it. Simplicity is not just a language tool, it is a power move. I want to practice this power move language with you. I am going to give you a weak, complex sentence that a nervous employee might say. I want you to change it into a strong, simple sentence. Here is the weak sentence. I was hoping that maybe if you have some time, you could take a look at this report because I am not totally sure if it is right. That sounds weak, doesn't it? How do we fix it? We remove the hoping, the maybe, the if. We say, please review this report. I want your feedback. Do you hear the authority in that? You are not being rude. You are being professional. Let's try another one. I feel like perhaps we are not moving in the right direction with this project. This is passive. Make it active. We are going the wrong way. We need a new plan. When you speak like this, people listen. They know you are not wasting their time. Let's shift gears to another difficult situation. Apologizing. Saying sorry is hard. Our ego wants to protect us. We often give non-apology apologies. We say, I am sorry if you felt offended by what I might have said, which was not my intention. This is garbage. It is a complex way of saying, I didn't do it. A real apology is simple. It has 3 parts. I am sorry. I was wrong. I will fix it. Let's imagine a character named Tom. Tom broke his friend's camera. Tom says, I am sorry. I was careless. I will buy you a new one. That is it. The friend cannot be angry. The responsibility is fully accepted. The simplicity proves the sincerity. If Tom had said, the camera fell due to gravity and a slippery surface, he sounds like he is making excuses. Simplicity is honest. Complexity is often a lie. This brings us to a profound truth about language. Truth is usually simple. Lies are usually complex. When you tell the truth, you don't need to remember a complicated story. I didn't eat the cookie. Simple. If you are lying, you have to say, well, I was in the kitchen, but I was actually looking for an apple, and I saw the cookie jar was open, but I didn't touch it. The brain knows the difference. When you speak simply, people instinctively trust you more because you sound like you have nothing to hide. As a language learner, use this to your advantage. You might not have the vocabulary to lie effectively, so don't try. Stick to the simple truth, and you will build a reputation as an honest, trustworthy person. Now, I want to talk about storytelling. We all tell stories every day. We tell our families what happened at work. We tell our friends about our vacations. But often, B1 learners fall into the "and then" trap. The story becomes a boring list of events. I went to the airport, and then I waited, and then I flew, and then I arrived. This is simple, but it is robotic. We want simple but dramatic. How do we do that? We focus on the change. Every story is about a change. You were happy, then you were sad. You were lost, then you were found. Let's look at a traveler named Liam. Liam went to Paris. He wants to tell his friend about it. The boring version. I went to the Eiffel Tower. It was tall. I took a photo. I ate a croissant. It was good. This puts the listener to sleep. Now, let's use simple sentences to create a movie in the listener's mind. We will focus on the senses. Liam says, I saw the Eiffel Tower. It was massive. The lights sparkled. I felt small. Do you feel the difference? I felt small. That is a simple sentence, but it carries a lot of emotion. It describes the feeling of awe. Then he talks about the food. I bought a croissant. It was warm. The butter melted on my tongue. I was in heaven. These are all short, easy sentences. Subject, verb, object. But the choice of words, warm, melt, heaven, creates a vivid picture. You don't need complex grammar to be a poet. You just need to notice the details and state them clearly. Let's try a practice exercise for storytelling. I want you to think of the last time you were scared. Maybe you saw a spider. Maybe you watched a horror movie. I want you to describe it in 5 simple sentences. Do not use the word because. Do not use the word and. I will go first. The room was dark. I heard a noise. I stopped breathing. A cat jumped out. I laughed. Can you do that? It forces you to isolate the moments of action. It creates a rhythm. Boom, boom, boom. This is how thrillers are written. This is how jokes are told. The punchline is always a simple sentence. If you explain a joke with a long, complex paragraph, nobody laughs. The chicken crossed the road to get to the other side. Simple. Funny. Classic. We also need to discuss the art of asking questions. In conversation, the person who asks the questions controls the flow. If you want to be a good conversationalist, you need to ask good questions. But often, learners ask closed questions that kill the conversation. Did you like the movie? The answer is yes or no. The conversation stops. You have to work hard to start it again. Simple, open questions are better. What did you like about the movie? Now they have to give you a real answer. How did that make you feel? Why did you choose that? These are short questions, 3 or 4 words, but they open the door wide. Let's imagine you are at a dinner party. You are sitting next to a stranger. You are nervous. You try a complex question. Do you have any plans for the upcoming holiday season regarding travel or family gatherings? The stranger has to process all that. A better, simpler approach. What are your holiday plans? It is the same question, but it is friendly. It is light. If they say, I am going to Spain, you follow up with a simple echo. Spain? Wonderful. Why Spain? You are keeping the ball in their court with tiny, gentle taps. You are not smashing the ball with a tennis racket. You are playing a gentle game of catch. There is a concept in design called negative space. It is the white space around the text or the image. It makes the design look clean and elegant. In speech, simplicity is your negative space. If you fill every second with words, you create clutter. If you use simple sentences with pauses, you create elegance. Think of your speech like a minimalist room. A few beautiful pieces of furniture, a nice chair, a clear table, a bright lamp. This is better than a room filled with junk. Your words are the furniture. Choose them carefully. Place them with intention. Don't clutter your listener's mind. I want to address a common frustration. Sometimes you will speak simply, and the native speaker will reply with a tsunami of complex English. They will speak fast, use slang, and mumble. You will feel lost. You will think, Alex told me to be simple, but the world is not simple. This is true. You cannot control how others speak. You can only control how you speak. But here is the secret. When you speak simply and clearly, you unconsciously influence the other person to slow down. It is a psychological mirroring effect. If you are calm and clear, they will often match your energy. If you are frantic and complex, they will be frantic and complex. You set the tempo. You are the conductor of the orchestra. If they are still too fast, use your simple power phrases. Please slow down. I didn't catch that. Please say it again simply. You have the right to ask for clarity. You are not being annoying. You are managing the communication. Let's look forward. We are going to talk about your future. We are going to talk about your dreams. And we are going to talk about how you can bring the English-speaking world into your home through movies, books, and podcasts without feeling overwhelmed. This is a very exciting part of the process because this is where language stops being a subject you study and starts being a tool you use to build your life. Many students feel stuck in the present tense. They can describe what is happening right now, but when they try to talk about their plans, they freeze. They worry about will versus going to. They worry about the future perfect continuous. But just like before, the key to unlocking your future is simplicity. When you speak about your dreams simply, they sound more real. They sound inevitable. Let's learn how to do that. Imagine a young man named Carlos. Carlos has a big dream. He wants to start his own bakery in Canada. He is at a networking event, and someone asks him, Carlos, what is your plan? Carlos gets nervous. He thinks he needs to sound sophisticated to impress the person. He says, well, assuming the visa regulations remain stable, it is my intention to eventually, perhaps within the next 5-year window, initiate the establishment of a culinary enterprise focused on artisanal goods. The person listening nods politely, but their eyes glaze over. It sounds like a legal contract, not a dream. It lacks passion. It lacks fire. Now, let's rewrite Carlos's script. He looks the person in the eye. He smiles. He says, I am going to Canada. I will open a bakery. I will bake the best bread in the city. I am very excited. Do you feel the difference? The simple version is powerful. It uses will and going to with confidence. It creates a clear picture. The listener thinks, wow, this guy is serious. He is actually going to do it. There is a psychological trick here. When you use complex grammar to describe your future, like, I might be trying to, you are giving yourself an escape route. You are telling your brain that it might not happen. But when you use simple, direct sentences like, I will, or I am going to, you are making a promise to yourself. You are committing. I will learn English. This is a strong vow. I am hoping to try to learn English is a weak wish. Use your language to program your mind for success. Be bold. Be direct. Let's apply this to a very common situation. The job interview. The interviewer asks, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" This is a terrifying question for many people. You try to think of the perfect answer. You try to use buzzwords like synergy and leadership capacity. But the interviewer is a human being. They want to know if you are ambitious and if you are realistic. Let's look at a candidate named Sarah. She says, "I envision myself transitioning into a role with increased managerial oversight while simultaneously expanding my skill set in data analytics. It is dry. It is boring." Now, look at a candidate named Mike. Mike says, "I want to be a manager. I want to lead a team. I want to help this company grow. I will work hard to get there." Mike wins. Mike is clear. Mike uses the "I want" structure. We are often taught that "I want" is too simple or even rude. But in the context of ambition, "I want" is honest. It shows drive. "I would like" is polite for ordering tea. "I want" is powerful for building a career. I want to practice this future mapping with you right now. I want you to think about one goal you have for next year. Just one. Maybe it is travel. Maybe it is health. Maybe it is love. I want you to write it down or say it out loud in 3 short sentences. Step 1. Step 2. Step 3. For example, if your goal is to run a marathon, I will start running tomorrow. I will train every week. I will finish the race. If your goal is to find a partner, I will go out more. I will meet new people. I will find love. Do not clutter these sentences with ifs and buts. Do not say, "I will run unless it rains." No, I will run. Keep the vision clean. This clarity attracts success. Now, let's shift our focus to how you consume English. This is the input side of the equation. Many B1 learners are frustrated. You try to watch a movie in English, and the actors speak too fast. You try to watch CNN or the BBC, and the news anchors use words you have never heard. You panic. You turn on the subtitles in your native language, or you just turn off the TV. You feel like you are drowning. I want to throw you a life jacket. The life jacket is called the GIST strategy. The GIST means the general idea, the main point. When you are watching a movie, your goal is not to translate every word. Your goal is to understand the story. Think about how a child watches a movie. My nephew watches cartoons in Japanese sometimes. He does not speak Japanese. But he laughs. He cries. He understands the story. How? He watches the actions. He listens to the emotion in the voices. He uses his eyes. As adult learners, we get obsessed with the words. We stop looking and we only try to listen. I want you to reverse this. Watch the movie. Look at the faces. Is the man angry? Is the woman sad? If the man screams a sentence you don't understand, but he slams the door, you know what he said. He said, "I am angry," or "Get out." You understood the message without understanding the words. This is success. There is a rule I like to call the 70% rule. When you are choosing something to watch or read, aim for material where you understand about 70% of the words. If you understand 100%, it is too easy. You are not learning. If you understand 20%, it is too hard. You will get frustrated, but 70% is the sweet spot. You understand enough to follow the story, but there are enough new words to challenge you. How do you find this content? Don't start with Shakespeare. Don't start with a philosophical debate. Start with things that are visual. Cooking shows are amazing for this. The chef says, "Chop the onions," and then you see him chopping onions. Your brain makes the connection instantly. Travel shows are also great. You see the place. You hear the description. The visual context supports the language. I also want to introduce you to the stop and predict game. This turns passive watching into active learning. Watch a scene from a movie for 2 minutes. Then, press pause. Ask yourself a simple question. What will happen next? Answer it in simple English. He will kiss her. He will steal the car. They will fight. Then press play and see if you were right. This keeps your brain awake. It forces you to use the future tense in a fun, low-pressure way. You are not being graded. You are just playing a guessing game. But this game trains your brain to think ahead in English. Now, let's talk about reading. Reading is the best way to expand your vocabulary, but only if you do it right. Many students try to read the New York Times or The Economist because they want to feel smart. But they spend 30 minutes reading one paragraph because they have to look up 20 words in the dictionary. This is not reading. This is decoding. It is painful. I have a secret for you. It might sound strange, but the best way to improve your fluency is to read books written for teenagers or even children. These books are designed to be clear. The sentences are simple. The plots are exciting. When you read a book like Harry Potter or The Hunger Games, or even simpler books like Charlotte's Web, you can read for pleasure. You can turn the pages quickly. You start to think in English because the flow is not broken by constant dictionary checks. Do not be ashamed of reading easy books. Be proud that you are reading a whole book in a foreign language. That is a huge achievement. There is a concept called narrow reading or narrow listening. This means staying on one topic for a while. If you watch a news report about a hurricane, and then you read a generic article about economics, and then you listen to a podcast about football, your brain has to jump between 3 different vocabularies. It is exhausting. Instead, try to stick to one topic for a week. Let's say you are interested in space. Watch a documentary about space. Read a simple article about Mars. Listen to an interview with an astronaut. You will see the same words repeated again and again. Rocket, launch, orbit, planet. By the 3rd day, you won't need to look these words up. You will know them naturally because of the repetition. This builds confidence. You become an expert in that one small topic. Then, next week, you pick a new topic. Let's address the fear of the native speaker speed. You listen to a podcast, and the 2 hosts are laughing and talking over each other and speaking at 100 miles per hour. You think, I will never be able to do that. Here is the truth. You don't need to do that yet. There are amazing resources called Slow News or English for Learners podcasts. They speak at a normal, clear speed. They are not talking to babies, but they are speaking clearly. Listening to these is not cheating. It is training. If you want to run a marathon, you don't start by sprinting. You start by jogging. Slow English prepares your ears for fast English. It helps you hear the separation between words. It helps you hear the endings of words. Spend time with these resources. Let your ears relax. I want to talk about the shadowing technique. We mentioned the echo method for conversation, but shadowing is for practice when you are alone. You find a short audio clip, maybe 30 seconds, of a speaker you like. You listen to it once. Then you listen again, and try to say the words at the exact same time as the speaker. You mimic their speed. You mimic their pauses. You mimic their emotion. It is like singing along to a song. You don't worry about the grammar. You just worry about the melody. This is incredible for pronunciation. It helps your mouth get used to the physical movement of speaking English. It connects your ears to your tongue. Do this for 5 minutes a day, and you will see a massive improvement in your rhythm. Let's return to the idea of the future and combine it with your media consumption. I want you to use English to learn about your hobbies. If you love photography, do not search for English vocabulary for photography. Search for how to take better portraits in English. Watch a tutorial by a photographer. You will be so interested in the content, learning how to use your camera, that you will forget you are studying English. This is the Trojan horse method. You hide the English lesson inside a lesson about something you love. If you love cooking, watch Jamie Oliver. If you love cars, watch Top Gear. Use English as a vehicle to get information you want. This changes your relationship with the language. It stops being a chore and starts being a key to a treasure chest. I also want to warn you about perfectionism in listening. Many B1 learners feel that if they miss one word, they have failed. They get stuck on that one word. The speaker continues talking, but the learner is still thinking about that one mystery word from 10 seconds ago. This destroys your understanding of the whole message. You have to learn to let it go. If you miss a word, ignore it. Keep listening. Usually, the context of the next sentence will explain what you missed. Imagine you are driving a car and you hit a small bump. You don't stop the car and get out and stare at the bump. You keep driving. Listening is the same. Keep driving forward. Trust that your brain will catch up. Let's try a visualization exercise for your future self. I want you to close your eyes for a moment, unless you are driving. Imagine yourself 1 year from now. You are speaking English. But don't imagine yourself giving a speech at the United Nations. Imagine something simple. Imagine you are sitting in a cafe in London or New York or Sydney. You are relaxed. The waiter comes over. You order a coffee and a cake. You make a small joke. The waiter laughs. You smile. That is it. That is the dream. It is a moment of connection. It is a moment of ease. Hold that image in your mind. That feeling of relaxation is your goal. You don't need to be a dictionary. You just need to be that person in the cafe, enjoying their coffee, unafraid to speak. Now, let's talk about the journal. I mentioned writing earlier, but I want to suggest a specific type of future journaling. Every morning, write 3 simple sentences about what you will do today. I will work on my project. I will call my mother. I will cook a good dinner. This sets your intention. Every evening, write 3 simple sentences about what you did. I finished the project. I talked to Mom. The dinner was delicious. This simple practice creates a cycle of success. You plan, you do, you record, all in simple English. It proves to you, day by day, that you are living your life in English. You are capable. You are consistent. There is a beautiful quote. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But I would like to change it slightly for us. A conversation of 1,000 words begins with a single simple sentence. You are building your future 1 sentence at a time. Do not look at the top of the mountain and get scared. Look at your feet. Take the next step. Say the next word. That is all you have to do. Now, we arrive at the destination. Today, we are going to take all these separate tools, the subject-verb-object structure, the echo method, the period power, the future mapping, and we are going to combine them into a single, unbreakable lifestyle. We are going to build your master routine. This is not a study plan that you do for an hour and then forget. This is a way of living. This is how you ensure that simplicity becomes your default setting, so that when the pressure is on, you don't panic. You just speak. We will also talk about the final, invisible ingredient that makes all of this work: confidence. But not the loud, fake confidence of a performer. We are talking about the quiet, unshakable confidence of someone who knows they can be understood. Let's start with the master routine. I want you to imagine your day as a circle. We are going to place small anchors of simplicity around this circle. You don't need to quit your job to study English. You just need to change the way you navigate your existing day. It starts the moment you wake up. This is your morning anchor. Before you look at your phone, before you check the news, I want you to set an intention in English. It must be one simple sentence. It could be, "Today, I will be calm. Today, I will listen carefully. Today, I will speak slowly." Say it out loud. Hear your own voice in the quiet of the morning. This primes your brain. It tells your subconscious that English is not a scary monster. It is a tool for setting the tone of your life. It takes 10 seconds, but it changes the trajectory of your next 12 hours. As you move into your day, whether you are going to work, to school, or managing your home, I want you to play the simplicity game with your environment. This is your midday practice. When you see something, describe it in your head using 3 words. You see a bus. Bus is red. You see a man running. Man is fast. You drink coffee. Coffee is hot. This sounds childish, I know. But remember, we are retraining your brain to look for the core of the message. You are bypassing the complex translation filter. You are connecting the object directly to the English word. Do this for just 2 minutes while you are walking or commuting. It keeps your English engine running in the background, idling smoothly, ready to accelerate when you need it. Now, let's talk about the interaction anchor. This happens whenever you have to speak to someone, even if it is in your native language. I want you to practice the principles of English simplicity, even when speaking Spanish, or Japanese, or French. Practice pausing. Practice short sentences. Practice active listening. Why? Because communication habits are universal. If you are a rambler in your native language, you will be a rambler in English. If you learn to be concise and direct in your native language, that skill will transfer instantly to your English. You are training your personality to be clearer. So, when you are in a meeting, force yourself to make your point in 30 seconds. When you are telling a joke, get to the punchline. You are becoming a global communicator, and English is just one of the instruments you play. Then comes the evening anchor. This is where we process and reflect. We talked about the journal in the last section, but I want to refine it. I call this the 3 wins exercise. Before you sleep, write down 3 small victories from the day in simple English. They don't have to be big. I understood the email. I said hello to the neighbor. I watched a video. This rewires your brain to look for success. Most language learners are obsessed with their failures. They lay in bed thinking, "I made a grammar mistake," or I couldn't remember the word. This creates anxiety. The 3 wins exercise creates momentum. It proves to you that you are moving forward. Even if you only moved 1 inch, you moved. Write it down. Subject, verb, object. I made progress. Sleep on that thought. But what happens when you have a bad English day? We all have them. You wake up, and your brain feels like it is full of cotton. You can't remember basic words. Your mouth feels clumsy. You feel like you have gone backward. This is the plateau of frustration. It is normal. In fact, it is a sign of growth. Your brain is reorganizing information. When this happens, do not fight it. Do not force yourself to study complex grammar. Revert to extreme simplicity. Treat yourself like a beginner again for 1 day. Watch a cartoon. Read a children's book. Speak in 2-word sentences. I'm tired. It's okay. Be kind to yourself. The fluency will return tomorrow, often stronger than before. If you panic and try to force it, you will create a negative emotional association with English. You will start to hate it. We want to protect your love for the language. So, on bad days, go simple. Go slow. Survive. Now, let's discuss the concept of the confidence of clarity. Many people think confidence means being loud and using big words. They think it means dominating the room. But true confidence is quiet. Think about a master carpenter. He doesn't need to shout. He doesn't need 1,000 tools. He picks up one hammer, he hits the nail once, and it is perfect. That is confidence. When you speak simply, you are showing the world that you are not afraid of silence. You are not afraid of being understood. You are saying, here is my idea. It is simple. It is true. Take it. This is incredibly charismatic. People are drawn to clarity. In a noisy world full of confusion and information overload, the person who speaks clearly is the person who leads. You can be that leader. You don't need a C2 certificate to be a leader. You just need to value your own words enough to keep them clear. I want to share a final story with you. A story about a student named Elena. Elena was a scientist. She was brilliant, but she was terrified of English conferences. She had so much complex data in her head that she thought her English had to be complex too. She would write speeches with words like notwithstanding and aforementioned. When she spoke, she stumbled. She sweated. The audience looked bored. She came to me and said, "Alex, I am not smart enough for English." I told her, "Elena, you are too smart for your English. You are hiding your brilliance behind a wall." We worked together. We stripped her speech down. We took a paragraph about molecular interactions and changed it to the cell's touch. They change. This cures the disease. She was terrified. She said, "It is too simple. They will think I am stupid." I said, "Try it." She went to her next conference. She stood up. She took a breath. She spoke in short, clear sentences. She looked at the audience. She saw something she had never seen before. She saw them nodding. She saw them smiling. She saw them taking notes. For the first time, they understood her science. Because she wasn't fighting the language. She finished her speech. There was a pause. Then, applause. Real applause. She realized that her value was not in her vocabulary list, but in her ideas. She was free. You are Elena. You have ideas. You have feelings. You have stories. The world is waiting to hear them. Do not keep them locked inside a prison of perfectionism. Do not wait until you have memorized the entire dictionary. Start today. Start now. Open the door and walk out with your simple sentences. I am here. I have a voice. I am ready. As we close this series, I want to give you one final challenge. It is the Pay It Forward challenge. Find someone who is struggling with English. Maybe they are a beginner. Maybe they are just shy. I want you to encourage them. I want you to tell them, hey, it is okay. Just keep it simple. When you teach this philosophy to someone else, you solidify it in your own soul. You become a guardian of clarity. You stop being just a student, and you become a mentor. And the amazing thing is, when you help someone else feel less afraid, your own fear disappears. This script, these 10,000 words we have shared, is not just a lesson. It is a manifesto. It is a declaration of independence from the tyranny of complexity. You are now armed with the tools of the subject-verb-object. You are armed with the echo method. You are armed with the period power. You have the map. You have the compass. The rest of the journey is up to you. I want to thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for trusting me with your time. Time is the most valuable thing we have, and you chose to spend it here, investing in yourself. That tells me everything I need to know about you. You are going to succeed. I believe in you, not because you are perfect, but because you are willing to try. Please, if this series has helped you, do not let it end here. Subscribe to English in Fluency. Share this video with a friend who is struggling. Leave a comment below and tell me your morning anchor for tomorrow. Let's build a community of clear, confident speakers. Let's make the world a little less refreshing and a little more understanding, one simple sentence at a time. I am Alex. This has been your deep dive into the power of simplicity. Remember, clear English comes from simple sentences. Simplicity improves communication. And you are ready. Take a deep breath, smile, and speak. See you in the next video. Goodbye.